Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast, Inside the Climb. Tonight, we're here live at the Mesa Bar and Grill in our very own backyard of San Diego. Thank you guys so much for having us. As always, I'm Kylie Freeland. Joining us, Jack Powers, Caleb Davis, and Sam Popper. Welcome, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Look at this.
Great
Awesome.
night
This
to
is
be
great.
at the Mesa Bar and Grill.
We got the World Cup game on.
Morocco.
Come on now.
Yeah. Hoping there might be some cheers in the background here throughout the game. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting.
We'll have to get a pod live on the episode.
Oh yeah. But shout out Mesa Bar and Grill. Obviously they got the Wawa Wings, huge supporters. They're fans of the program. So if you're ever hungry, you're ever in the area, come swing by.
That's right. Christian Washington.
Absolutely. It's like the place for the World Cup matches, that's for sure.
Yeah. How has June been treating you guys? We're at the tail end.
Glad it's over.
survived.
I'm glad it's over. We survived. We should get like those shirts that say like I survived June.
Yes.
It was good. It was funny. Like everything we talked about, first or the second episode, but how the month is like pretty much how it is. And then this past week was not exactly diving into break. It was more of a a slow transition into break. Like we were in the office through Wednesday, and then we were getting a couple things done Thursday. I was out on Friday, but we're kind of slowly turning through
There's
a little
always
bit.
like a smooth run into the break to where like, okay, technically we're supposed to be off after Wednesday, but there's a lot of loose ends to tie up, so I'll be here around until this Wednesday, the 1st, and then we're getting out, and then I'm enjoying a couple weeks back home, overseas, and then by the time we get back, it's kind of like a slow transition into break, and then there's a slow transition out of break where like that first week and the last week typically end up finding myself in the office organizing things, making sure things are all good.
So there used to be, and this changed I think 2 years ago, but there used to be the last week of July before training camp. Like now it's a dead period all the way through our first game of the season, meaning players can't visit campus and all the other stuff. But there used to be a period that was live the last week of July. So it would turn up to, like a keeping up with the Joneses, so every team would try to have some like big recruiting event at the end of July. So it made the break so, annoying is not the right word. There was stuff to do in break so that it wasn't fully break, because you were trying to like get kids to campus and all this stuff just for this like one event before training camp. And I speak for I think all people in personnel and saying like really glad that that's not a thing anymore.
That was a huge win, because what it always was okay, you tie the knot, you're done with your current recruiting class, and then that event at the end of the summer is typically your kickoff into the next recruiting class, because now you can finally have those communications, you can start to text and communicate with them. So that was always the kickoff to the next class, is how we always attacked it. So again, throughout the month, even though you're on break, recruiting staffs were kind of prepping for that event. So again, there was never really that true breath of fresh air, sigh of relief, call it whatever you want. So now that we're done, like this last week is kind of, like we said, tying up loose ends, and then really we're not off and rolling again until fall camp.
That's beautiful.
Well, when you guys come back from break, we'll be in the Pac-12. Talk
right.
about now the importance of that.
We'll be in the Pac-12
especially
in less than 36 hours.
Yeah, we're right there.
By the time most of the listeners are sitting in, tuning in, we'll be official Pac-12 members. So it's exciting. We've got, again, by the time this is out, because this will be posted, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
So as people are listening to it,
Good on you
it'll be
guys.
the same day we're doing our cornhole tournament outside Snapdragon Stadium to kind of commemorate just the move into the Pac-12, celebrate everything, and really just create this community kickoff to where we're all entering the new era together. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be an awesome event, and I think it's understated, and like I think this event helps us in trying to just all of us take part in it. Like it's a really big deal formally moving into the Pac-12. Like obviously we've all talked about it because it was a formality, but to actually get that done, it's something that's worth celebrating. So like that's a big point of the event. Like it's a very historical conference filled with a lot of really good teams, a lot of really good players, a lot of really good programs. And it's exciting for San Diego State to now be able to actually formally enter the conference, and I think everybody's just really excited about it.
And
they should be.
I think it's really cool too to flip the page, turn over the new leaf, and and go into this historic conference, but to do it with our community. I think that's the biggest piece is like, for the first time ever, like this is the most transformational era in San Diego State athletics history, that as we continue to cultivate relationships across the city, you know, to have a bar and grill like Mesa come have us out here and celebrate, like all the little things that are going on right now, to have the community get to celebrate it together, like that's something that's we've never been able to do, to really, if we do everything to the best of our capabilities like we know we can, compete for national championships and compete for a CFP berth. So there's a lot of things that are happening, and again, my most exciting thing is that we get to celebrate it with the community, with the people that have been lifelong fans, and do it as a whole San Diego city together.
Yeah.
All the smart people in football that I've come across have always said, like, celebrate all wins.
Yeah.
You know, and this counts as like a win, something worth celebrating.
Yeah. And how would you say the visibility kind of now changes? You said in your chapter, but the visibility for the players for San Diego State in general, what does that kind of look like?
Absolutely. I think number one, when we talk visibility, I think it's the opportunity to compete for a college football national championship. So to be able to win the conference and know, again, it won't be every single time guaranteed, but 99.9% of the time, that CFP berth is going to go to the Pac-12 champion. That is so key because, again, it's never been where, okay, we go win the conference and we know we're going to be competing for a national championship. So that's the first piece from a visibility and really competition perspective, to genuinely compete for national championships. Like, that's the most exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I also think for so long, too, like the Pac-12 was like the premier football conference in the West Coast. So, like, just separate point from the national side, because that's definitely true, but being able to kind of have our program back in like that premier West Coast football conference, I think is going to be really big, because as conferences continue to shift and shake throughout the years, I think we will be a really integral part of this conference that for the future as we move forward will be a really, really good partnership, like really for both sides.
Do you think there will be more shift and shake in conference realignment?
I think we're years away from it, but yes.
Okay.
It's never going to happen.
The one constant in college football is there will be change.
Yeah. Right.
That is, so I'm not...
Especially if you tuned into the last episode. We talked all about...
No doubt.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts that I think could happen.
Right.
I think ways we're trending, but again, those are conversations for people way above my head, kind of on the national landscape. So, to be honest, I don't think it's worthwhile kind of projecting right now, but I think there's a lot of stuff 3 years from now at the end of the 2029 season that could align to where Pac-12, again, is a more and more attractive conference as we continue to do things the right way, continue to brand around our student athletes. And I think there's a lot of excitement to where this isn't just a move to put us in the best position today, but it's one that gives us a chance to dominate 3 to 5 years from now and so on beyond that.
When you're in a position too, when you're like, fighting a fight every day and you're on a team and you're trying to win games, like, all the rule changes that have affected so many people in college football in recent years, like, again, it's almost like a going with the flow game, and the second you get so wrapped up in, like, what's going to happen next, like, it's just hard to focus on. Like, you almost just got to, like, deal with everything as it comes, and so...
You got to be where your feet are.
Be where your feet are. Like, I don't know, so many times, like, when people talk about kind of, in general, whether it's at an individual basis, whether it's at a team basis, whether it's a department basis, kind of you name it, like, whenever you're kind of thinking about what's next, like, that's when you kind of mostly struggle. And for, like, life in this game, like, sometimes the best thing that you can do is just literally, like, be right where you are. Like, that concept kind of applies everywhere.
So what makes you two so confident that the Pac-12 will be that representative in the playoffs compared to the other 5 conferences it'd be competing against with that bid?
I think number one, you just look at it from top to bottom competitiveness within the conference. As much as I hate to give other people at our level props, like Boise has done a very, very good job year after year of building competitive teams. The team up north has been a constant battle and a really, really good rivalry, along with Oregon State, Washington State, and just the rest of the crew between what Colorado State's doing. I think they've got an innovative group leading the charge there. Utah State's done a lot of great things, and Texas State's really, really invest in the program. So
Yes.
I think from top to bottom, there's going to be a lot of competition. But I also think from the conference level, top down, what we've done has been really, really innovative to just help make sure that representative is at the top of the pecking order when it all comes down. And I think our flex week 12, like that's something that
it's pretty cool.
nobody else in the country has, and that's going to be something that allows for whatever we need, whether it's, hey, make sure we need one more quality win at the top of the level, let's stack our top two people against each other, or you already know these two teams are in the conference championship, let's get them a secondary win. Like, there are all these different things that the Pac-12 and our commissioner have done really, really creative things to make sure we're constantly top of mind. And then you combine that with, you look at just the non-conference schedules that are going on across
very
the whole
competitive.
Pac-12,
Very
with us
competitive.
playing UCLA, I believe. Does Boise play Oregon? I know they did a couple years ago. I
Oregon
think they do
State
this year.
plays Texas Tech.
Yep, there's a lot of competition going on to where, again, will it happen every year? No, absolutely not. Like, nobody would have ever thought there would have been two in the CFP like we had last year, but I think 9 times out of 10, when you stack us up against the rest of the country, I think it's going to be very, very hard for them to find a representative better than what we're going to have in the Pac-12.
The national media also in that aspect seems more confident, I think, of that than we are.
Yeah.
You never really know how it's going to go. Like, we kind of have our own little thoughts internally, but like the national media seem to like pick the winner of our conference in at almost every turn this offseason so far. And I think, again, it's the lore that the conference has always had and that it's coming back to. I mean, it has obviously a couple teams that were in the conference the previous years and that were, carrying the load of that conference for the last 2 years, right? Like, but I think there's a lot of different kind of things that are working for us within the G5 landscape that kind of people already know. Like, there's a lot of things for us we kind of have to try to make sure people know or try to educate as best we can. To me, like, the Pac-12's prominence among the group of 6 programs, like, it's not one of them. That's kind of done the job for us.
Yeah,
You know, which
and I
be
would
nice.
say prominence and an investment. Like, there's been a heavy investment from every member of the Pac-12 to make sure we're leading the race in the CFP berth from year to year. And again, like, one of the best examples is the Flex Week, but just everything top down. Like, this is a conference that if you're not aiming to be the best, you're going to fall behind, which is one of the things that excites me most because, again, I know Sam's the same way. Like, stack us up against the best. If we can play the best 10 teams in the country every single year and make sure we're ready end of the season, like, sign me up for that. Like, I know we're all psychos like that.
Nah,
but,
100%.
But yeah, there's just a lot going on in the Pac-12 that sets us up to be different. And you combine all that with just national relevance, where we're going to be broadcasted at a higher rate than anyone else in the country. Where
Right.
the USA network, like, that network is in more households than ESPN, and
Yeah.
again, things that you would blow your mind when you really dive deep into the statistics. And my selling point to that is always, like, again, you point to just the March Madness tournament each year. Again, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but, like, how many of you guys watch True TV throughout the year?
It's a good point.
But then,
Charles Barkley said it. You can
I'm
say it
always
too.
flipped it. I'm always tuned in when it comes to March Madness.
They
That's gonna be
joke
no
around
different
about
to,
it. They
to the
joke around about it
CW
every year on the show.
But everything we've got going on, like, again, like, there wasn't really a reason to watch all these different
No.
channels, but now that the Pac-12 is going to be on in every single household across every single home game represented by the Pac-12, like, there's a lot of power that goes into that again, ahead of time before it's happening, people probably don't really understand what that means, but I think we're going to see it and realize it really quickly, just the impact that broadcast value has.
and in the late night slate.
No
Exactly.
doubt.
Pac-12 after dark.
The conference has done a great job of combining pre-existing tradition to, like, new innovation.
Yes.
From kind of leadership all the way down through all the teams. I think there'll be some things that we do as a conference that other conferences will kind of then replicate. So I'm excited for it. And that's kind of the really fun part about, like, where we are right now is that, you know, obviously we made it through June, right? We made the shirts, I survived June, right? And then after that, you know, we'll have kind of our little time here throughout this month. And that's when like kind of the jitters start coming, but you kind of get, that combination of like both nervous and excited because it's the second we get back, now it's like, let's go. Like we're on. And so much of the last 3 months for us was all just outward facing recruiting, and now it's inward facing football prep. We get a lot more time to do stuff internally, to focus on bettering our processes and getting ready for the incoming season from a recruiting standpoint. The coaches, it's all practice, it's game plan, it's all that stuff. For the guys, there's you start to kind of get the pecking order going as far as who's going to kind of play in what situations and who's going to be a trusted leader, and that part is like all really exciting, and we get the luxury of kind of being front and center, like looking forward to that within our building. And that's something that like as long as you're in it, like you never take for granted.
Yeah.
So like very excited for that.
Yeah.
100%.
And talk about the inward facing stuff. You guys haven't always obviously been at this position. Kind of tell viewers how you got here into this lifestyle and where you guys started.
Yeah. Shoot, the football lifestyle is insane, first off. I think. I know we've talked about our journeys and everything, but we kind of wanted to pivot this a little bit into like just the actual football lifestyle, what it's like to work in this space and live in this space. I think it's funny because, again, like this is our break time and we're still hanging out. We're still going to be with the community.
We're not the only ones starting to get a little crowd over here.
But absolutely love this place, love this community. And again, I think that's what working in football is. One of the best quotes I'd ever heard was from my old boss, Coach Freeland, back at Notre Dame, was like, there's no such thing as a work-life balance.
Yeah.
When you live and work in football and everything we do to pour into these kids and pour into the community, no such thing as work-life balance. So you have to make it a work-life blend. How do you blend your family within the program? And that's something that I think Coach Lewis does just as good of a job as anyone else in the country does, where once we're in season, every Sunday night we have family dinner nights where all the wives, the girlfriends, the kids are running around the office and hanging out because, again, we're in season. Like, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be madness. It's going to be insane hours, but you have to be able to blend that family into the program. Otherwise, you start to have these, again, really, really hard lives to where you see that some people aren't cut out for football. So that work-life blend is something that I've always been chasing in everything we're doing. Sam, looked like you were about to say something.
No, like it does take a lot of your time, and like the best people that I've met doing this, kind of find a way to like have, I don't really know how to say it, but like some sort of like way about them like outside of football, and how do you kind of like work that into their lives? Like some people are really good in this because this is almost like our own way of like escaping who we are outside of work, and like in the building you can kind of have your own personality and your own way of doing things, and in the outside like it's a little bit more difficult, I think, to kind of like fit in, right? Plus you get the whole like mucho macho, like I take care of stuff myself mentally and I don't get help and I probably need help, like all that other stuff. So it's like you have to kind of combine what is your life inside the office, but then also making sure that like outside of football, like you have some element to who you are. And I think to Kale's point, like that's why I kind of like the word blend too, is because it allows you to kind of like, blend both those aspects of like who you are as a person. Because if it's too much of one, you're not really going to make it, and if it's too much of the other, like you're really not going to make it either.
It is really funny because, like, now that you talk about, I've never really put much thought to it, but there's so many different personalities within a football program on how you attack your life outside of football.
Yeah.
And like, again,
100%.
like I was literally just sitting here reflecting. Like, I think me and Sam actually attack it almost opposite, to where, like, I hate being out of the office so much that like I like almost leave myself work at the end of the day so I have a reason to come in during break into the office and do more things, because like I don't like being away from it. I don't like getting out of it, which I'm sure is like, again, not to say it's polar opposite, but
like I feel like I used to do that, I think, a little bit more than I do now, because I kind of just got to a point where I felt like if I kept doing that, like it just, like, I don't know, I just felt like I probably like wouldn't be able to hang, and like I'd probably burn out a little bit.
And there's a lot of different people that do it differently, because like there are some people within the building that Like, hey, I'm getting my stuff done. I'm going to do really good when I clock into work, and then I'm out as soon as I can get out. And again, that's not looked at a bad thing. Like, that's one where Coach Lewis, again, does a great job where it's like, hey, we are family men first. Like, we are not sitting here to guard our desks just because you're scared to leave before the head coach leaves.
But that is all the head coach. Yeah. Because there are places that, like, it's a desk guarding operation.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There are a lot of places.
Because that's the hard part about the balance is there is an element in football, whether we all like to admit it or not. We talk about the balance and the blend all we want. There is an element here to, like, you have to be able to, like, outwork, like, other people within your own building.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, there has to be that, you know, the competition has to be largely directed outwards, right? Like, for example, we think that we have to be a better recruiting department than Red Insert Team here. But there also is that, like, internal competition as well, because you have to kind of almost have that pride in yourself to where you're going to be able to, you know, outwork your peers, try to elevate those around you. Like, can you be somebody that everybody in the building looks at, like, oh, that person's really good, right? Like, you have to kind of have that ability to strive for that, because if you don't, then there's the other part of, like, not making it as well, you know?
Yep.
That's what people struggle with.
No, you're 100% right. But again, it all goes back to the culture that Coach Lewis builds, not just as players, but as a staff. It's pretty rare in college football that you get a group that's as close and as connected as this staff is.
Yeah,
And again,
100%.
like, we all feel comfortable. Like, we're all gonna, even when we're out of the building, we're probably still gonna find ways to hang out together because, you know, we enjoy being around together, being around each other, and it's something where we're really, really grateful. Because again, there are a million ways to do it. Not everyone does it the same way, but Coach Lewis is fantastic in the way that he allows us to operate, especially when it comes to, like, break time like this, to where you may have the week early on that you like being around, the week later that you like being around, but in between it, like, when we're on vacation, we're on vacation.
No doubt.
Unless it's putting out a fire that just popped up that we need to get done, like, we're going to be genuinely off over these next couple of weeks, which, again, is another thing where it's not like that everywhere.
Amen.
But for us to get that recharge into the season, because, again, we're going to be around each other 24/7. Like, once we're in season, we're probably working, I don't know, well over 100 hours a week. I don't know the exact hours. I haven't sat down and actually calculated it probably since my Cincinnati days when I was trying to figure out, am I making more or less than 50 cents an hour?
Yeah, the math is not a beneficial equation
No.
to try to do.
For your sanity.
But let me ask, so Caleb, when is the first moment that you realized, okay, like, I might be in this to stay? And when is the first moment that you realized, like, oh, how much of, like, a grind this really is? Like, I've always felt like for most people, like, those are two different things.
I'll say, again, I'm probably going to have a really boring answer to that. I'm going to let this fire truck pass real quick.
Which, by the way, before you start, too, like, what a beautiful skyline in Monterey. They just cut to the sideline.
With the mountain in the background?
Oh, my
that
gosh.
was beautiful. The sunset.
Man, I missed it.
Oh my god.
I was too tuned into this fire
That
truck
was,
going by.
I just didn't expect that to be such a nice skyline. I'm sorry.
See, polar opposite people.
Is
Like,
that-
one person got the soccer game and the skyline. I'm sitting here like, that fire truck's pretty cool, man. But no, to me, like, as I attacked it as a student at Cincinnati, I'll be honest, like, I decided before I even got rolling as a student, I knew I wanted to be in football. So to me, I basically attacked every single minute I could, every single hour I could inside the office because I didn't know if I'd get a chance to do it when I was done. So I kind of attacked that opportunity with the mindset of, hey, I might only get to do this for 4 years, and then it'll be a story that I'll tell my kids and grandkids. So I basically made that decision before I got started, and until, at the time, Coach Freeman, Coach Fickle, Chad Bowden, until they were going to kick me out of the office, I was going to be there all night long. So, again, it kind of a boring answer to where I knew immediately what I wanted to do, and then as I got into it, it was probably a year or two in there to where I realized, like, oh, like, this is going to take a whole bunch. It's kind of what I prayed for. It's kind of what I hoped for. And then from there, it was just like, hey, as long as you'll have me, I'm signed up for it. I'm all in. Like, if I could be here 120 hours and sleep in the locker room, I will.
Yeah, so for me, it was when I was a student at Michigan, because I agree with you. I think you kind of get that passion then.
Yeah.
I forget whether it was my first training camp or second, because my freshman year I didn't work training camp. And Michigan's first game that season was against Florida in AT&T Stadium. So I'm sure somebody could look up whether it was 2016 or 2017. But that training camp was like such a grind. And we were in there. There were like Sunday mornings that we had off.
Oh, wow.
But that was it. Like, if you ask any like
I've got a story. I'll piggyback
era,
off you.
They were just insane. Like, and so we were in there every second. And I remember getting home because the team left for Texas. Oh yeah, take a picture. So the team left for Texas on that Wednesday, and so I went home because obviously I wasn't traveling. So I went home at like 2 p.m. and I remember going to bed at like 3:30. And I remember kind of like, you know, when you like sometimes you take like a nap in the afternoon and you wake up and you think like it might have been, you know, an hour and a half. It might have been
Right.
you might have slept for 6 hours. So you're kind of looking to see if it's light outside, right? And you go from there. So I look out, it's light outside, and I was thinking like, oh, that must have been a nice nap. And I look at my phone, and it was 1:37 of the next day.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
just straight slept 22 hours
Oh
without
my
even thinking.
gosh.
And I remember getting out of bed, thinking like, it's 1:37, I should probably get out of bed, not like I'm awake. Like I looked at my phone, I remember thinking like if my phone had just said like 5 p.m. of that day, I would have thought I had slept an hour and a half. I know I could have slept more. And I just remember like I was like, you know, I was at dinner with some of my friends and, you know, everyone was kind of starting to get to campus. Like that was a fun time. And I just remember like kind of telling that story to people and like people being a lot more surprised by that than like I kind of thought they would be.
Yeah.
I really wasn't thinking about how crazy that is like in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's like now you look back on it and you're like, wait, like that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
And it was kind of at that moment where I was like, oh, like maybe this is for me. Like, you know, like I can just kind of like do this. Because those crazy stories kind of just seem like normal. And then that's when you kind of start to get a little crazy and then you're still in it. And so the cycle goes.
So like, the couple stories that, as you talked about, kind of like reignited some of my memories was, first off, I'd say the first time I ever started drinking coffee, which anyone that knows me now, Jack, Kylie, like I get some crazy looks.
got a Red
drinking
Bull in front of
Red
as we
Bull,
speak.
probably.
Cheers.
So-
it is empty.
Yep.
So I actually, believe it or not, have not been drinking coffee since I came out of the womb. I started one of my first fall camps at Cincinnati, because fall camp in Cincinnati, you go to this camp called Camp Higher Ground, and it's
I love
about
that
30, 40
tradition.
minutes
That's a
away
really
from
cool
campus.
tradition.
You're over in Indiana. The founders of this camp, like, again, they are loyal, diehard to Cincinnati. Like, they've got the logo on the turf, so it's a phenomenal environment for team building. But it's kind of one of those things where you talk about surviving the suck together. Like, it sucks for everyone. It sucks for coaching staff. It sucks for players. It sucks for support staff. And through that, you build a connection that you probably don't create otherwise. So with that, like the sleeping arrangement, I'm in a bunk with probably 30 different people all in the same room with plastic mattresses and one of those wooden bed frames that you sleep in as a little kid. And like that's the sleeping arrangement. You're there for 19 out of 20 days straight. The only day you get one day in between where you're back on campus, where you get one night where you get to sleep in your own bed. And the coaches are away from their families too. Right. So everyone's surviving this together. And those are days where you're up, again, as a support staff, you got to have things ready for the coaches. So I'm up at 5 a.m. and you're not going to bed until the meetings are done at 11 p.m. each night. And this is going on 19 out of 20 straight days. So I used to, again, had never been a caffeine drinker, never been a coffee drinker. I used to just get a cup of coffee, put ice cubes in it until it was lukewarm, and just chug it. And I'd start drinking like 3 cups of that a day, and then slowly but surely, as I got back on campus, started experimenting with some cream and different things, and elevated the taste buds a little bit. But that was like my kickoff. Now again, I'm a little messed up in the brain where like I loved it. Like,
yeah, that's how.
How many cups of coffee do you drink now per day?
now?
Yeah.
Are we including energy drinks, like caffeine total?
Count those as like
so,
2 probably.
So I try not to drink a lot of Monsters, but as we're in June and we're in everything, I'm usually getting at least 1 a day. And
So
I'll
it's kinda
usually
like 2
mix
cups.
that with about what, 5 or 6 cups of coffee
Oh
throughout
my
the day.
gosh. So you have to be crazy to work in football, basically.
Yeah, you have to be.
There you go.
You have to have something messed up in your brain.
I will say during this month, my caffeine intake drops like, I mean, a professional diver. Like it, have nothing, and then the second we'll get back, it'll just rocket shit back.
So for comparison purposes, I had 1 cup of coffee this morning that was double shot of espresso. That's like my normal morning coffee, and then this Red Bull's the second piece of caffeine I'm having
Pretty good
today.
for you then.
Yeah, I was gonna say
so
this is a light day.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were
day.
gonna keep going. And
No,
just cut it
no.
off
See,
then.
I tailor back.
Yeah.
When we get break time, like and on a typical day in the summer, I probably wouldn't have had this, but had to be alive for the pod.
Yeah,
Pod life get me going.
Which again, that means you were in it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
But no, to keep going back storytelling too a little bit. The other thing where I realized, like, again, it's kind of one of those moments where I'd say for me, it wasn't as much a revelation of like, I'm built for this. It was more so I started to see that other people weren't wired the same way. Because I used to, as a student, when we'd go to away games, I wasn't senior enough to be on the plane. So I used to have to ride the bus with equipment managers, with different people, students on the athletic training staff. And when we were in the American Conference, we were going to some crazy places. So my first away trip ever, I got to actually fly on the team plane to UCLA. But then the other trips that season was, we went to Dallas to SMU. So that was about an 18, 19-hour bus ride. We went to Central Florida, which was 19, 20 hours or so.
That conference is unbelievable.
And there were a couple of those trips.
Like, what a ragtag group of different teams.
But it was crazy because a couple of those trips, we would literally come off the bus from the away trip and go straight out into the Sunday night walkthrough practice. Like, would literally be running off. And that's where I started to notice all the other equipment trainers, all the other athletic trainers, EQ guys, like, they would be like, yeah, I'm out. I'm going to bed. Like, I'm actually relaxing. And me and my handful of like 2 or 3 other student assistants, we were the ones wired a little bit differently, where we were running straight out to the practice field and we're almost in a panic that we weren't going to get there for pre-practice run through where I was signaling. So
one of the nice parts about what we do is like all the same concepts that apply to the players in terms of like trying to make sure that like, you know, they can play a lot and are valued when, you know, the chips are down, everything like that. Like, the same concepts like apply for staff. So it's like you get into that moment and it's like, if you attack it with enthusiasm, even though in that moment it may not be what you wanted to do, it's the same thing as a player who's on scout team. And like, why do you do it? So you can be like this ever so like smallest part in like helping the team win. And if you don't think that's awesome, like, that is awesome. Like,
that attitude is kind of the separator between people who make it in sports and people who don't. The ones that, again, we're all going to have the moments where we're there for the 10th night in a row at 6 a.m. after OVs and we're all exhausted. And the ones that can attack it with a positive attitude that, again, while we all know we're exhausted, still have some sense to them, still have some ability, like, that's where you start to realize, hey, I was around these other students at Cincinnati that didn't have a good attitude, and they were the ones that maybe didn't last as long, or I was around the ones that did love it, and again, were as sick and twisted as I was, that was celebrating that we got to run out to another night walkthrough right after this bus ride. And those are the ones that typically end up having long careers in sports because, again, it's going to be long, it's going to be draining. There's going to be a lot of moments where you sit down and question, like, am I built for this? But again, if you attack it with the right attitude, most of the time you are.
And the other part of it is like the rise for so many people in like the, you know, industry of football, like coaches, staff, etc. The people that the average fan knows, right, usually have these like kind of nonstop rises. But like that is such an atypical story where it's like the other reason why you have to have enthusiasm for doing things like that is because the nice part about our game is like you never know when like the rug's gonna get pulled out from under you, like, and then what are you gonna do? And like so many times you could sit there and like think you're too big for like doing a certain task. And then, you know, 2 years down the line, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, something could happen. And now you have to do that same task again. Like, so then how are you going to attack it?
And that's something that, again, I think a lot of people from the outside looking in don't necessarily know about working in sports. Is like, until you make it, and even when you make it, you're probably going to fall back down a rung at some point. But until you make it, you are doing a lot of grunt work. And it's a lot of things that aren't glamorous. Like, I'm sure you as a student at Michigan, you've got some stories too, but like, I remember like, I was going on coffee runs trying to find out how to hold 12 different drinks in my car without spilling anything. And if it did spill, I'd have to go wipe it off and make sure I give the head coach the one that didn't look all dirty and give the GA the one that was a little messed up. And like,
Absolutely.
all those different things, like that isn't something that's like, oh, you're the coffee guy for a couple weeks and then you earn your keeps. It's like, no, you're the coffee guy for 4 years.
I mean,
until you prove your worth.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, like, it's not just things like getting coffee. Like,
Yep.
I mean, you and I today were working on transcripts for a couple hours.
Yep.
I mean, like, that's not incredibly glamorous, right? Like, it's easy to sit here and talk about how we like watch the film and evaluate players and are in these big time negotiations, but like we also are like evaluating like international transcripts with our compliance department. Like, it's not incredibly glamorous.
It's not a part you really
compliant.
think about.
Yeah, and a lot of people that like wouldn't consider that to be like the big like, you know, GM work of football, but it's like it's part of the job. And
I would say the percentage of things that I actually deal with on a day-to-day basis are probably about 70% different than what people probably think I do.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Sam, you probably piggyback, like, whether it's
That's a fair
transcripts, whether it's
percentage.
compliance, whether it's triggering a medical waiver to make sure X kid has a chance at another year. It's like all these different things that, again, most people don't think about on a day-to-day basis, but if I don't make sure it gets done, it's not going to get done. Making sure our kids are on Zooms for their onboarding Zooms. Like, literally, I'm having text message back and forth on my drive over here, making sure some of these kids are getting on this Zoom that they have to be on. Like, it's only about 30% the glamour work that people think it is.
Yeah.
But again, that 30% makes up for any other out. That could be 1% of it and still be worth it.
Can you take pride in the fact that like what you're doing is a very small part in like helping a team win? Are you
Helping
okay
the team
with,
win
like,
and helping these kids' lives.
right, and benefiting everybody around you?
Yep.
Like, are you okay with like not being the name or the face? Like, everybody has individual dreams, right? But like, can you know in your heart like what you're doing, and no matter what anybody else sees or thinks, like kind of that's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to like, you know, tell somebody, oh, don't worry about what other people are saying. It's hard when like, you know, you're a part of the team when, you know, other people are like tweeting at. Like, I remember when I was at Howard, I was like so excited for our first game against Maryland. Like, I couldn't have been more excited. You know, like, I thought like we had a great camp. We worked really hard, and I'm up in the booth, like, or in the box with the coaches, like, you know, charting some of our offensive plays. Couldn't have been more excited for that game. Like, Maryland starts with the ball and they go 3 and out. And then we get the ball and like we run 3, of course, are extremely like scripted plays, and like we get a first down,
Right.
and we're at like the Maryland 41, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, like I knew it, like, and
We're
we
gonna
ended
beat
up- We ended up losing the game 79-0. And I'm like driving home, and I was gonna, you know, I was in DC, so I was gonna have dinner at my parents' house, and I was like despondent. Like, they were gonna go into Whole Foods to like pick up food for dinner, and I was like, I like need to stay in the car. Like, I cannot be in public. And I'm like scrolling through Twitter, and I see a Bleacher Report tweet, and it was some
Those
like,
are
you know,
the worst.
funny meme of like us losing so badly to Maryland, and like some guy looking shocked, whatever. It's like a meme. And I just remember like it just hit me like a pound of bricks. Like, dang, like that's like I'm a part of that team. Like, it's not so funny anymore when like you feel like you want to like jump off a building, and like here you are looking at that, and they're like talking about you. Like, that's horrible. You got to learn how to like, you know, deal with that, of knowing that, you know, you're not going to necessarily like be the star when things are right, and when things are wrong, like they're talking about you, and like that's okay.
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good, but like, you gotta like brush it off. Like, such is life, and like,
I'll never forget, we had a moment at Cincinnati where I remember we're looking up, you know, 4-team playoff, and it was with my buddy Chad, who's at USC now. He was defensive QC at the time. We're doing a bunch of just random coaching, recruiting work, and me, him, and Max Steinecker, who's at USC as well, we're sitting down there looking at the schedule and kind of going through. It's like, guys, if we can pull off this win against Ohio State, like, we can win that game, we can win this game. Like, like guys, we might actually we got a shot to go to the playoffs.
I call that the hopes and dreams phase.
And again, it was like the same exact way I know is you're sitting there game one, you're like, dude, if we pull off this game against Maryland, we may be a P4 coaching staff next week. Like there's all those different thoughts.
I literally remember like being in the room like after the walkthrough, like, and I thought it was such a crisp walkthrough, and I'm like pacing back and forth by myself in the room, like I was just so excited.
Yeah, but we're sitting there looking at the schedule, feeling good about it, and going into the game, I'll never forget. Things fell apart real quick. I mean, to the point where, like, we had a kid who had anxiety, had a seizure in the middle of a play on the field, and they beat us 42-0. It was the most demoralizing game I've ever been a part of. And we're sitting there doing our post-game breakdown. We used to not leave the office till 2 a.m. after games, doing all these breakdowns. We're looking at the schedule, and again, almost a goal.
Morocco almost scored to our viewers at home.
But it was the same group of characters, me, Max, and Chad. We're looking at the schedule, same exact deal, but this time Chad just keeps looking at it. We're like, Chad, what are you doing? We got this work to do. And he's like, guys, I don't know if we're going to make a freaking bowl game this year. Like, we could lose this game. We could lose this game. We ended up winning 11 games. Like, it was a great season, but it's just that roller coaster of emotion. Again, it's one of the craziest things about the lifestyle we live, but it's one of the most rewarding things, too, because for every, again, in our terms, like, there's the Wazoo game last year where it felt like everything went wrong. It was awful. Like, you didn't want to look at the Twitter after the game to the very next week after our bye week, we go and beat Cal 34-0. Like, there are these highs and lows that nothing but sports can emulate. And again, it's one of those things. It's why you got to be a little bit messed up in the brain to be in this long term. But it's why the game of football and just sports in general, like, there's nothing as rewarding or as demoralizing as working in sports. But it's why, like, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, it's always better to have played than lost than to like never played at all. The people that I always disdain are the ones that like say they would rather like not play than like play and lose. Like, it's all about being a part of the fight, and it's all about the experience. And like some of the really fun teams that you're a part of like are sometimes teams that win, but like they're also sometimes like teams that didn't win, and like you glean so much from like being a part of that group.
Now, Sam, what are some of those moments in your career where it's kind of like a light bulb, like something flipped, something changed about how you just viewed working in sports? And I can give you a few examples because I've kind of been thinking about this as it's been going, if you need me to.
Yeah, give me one, and then I'll try to popcorn you off the other.
So as we kind of went through, like, Sam, some of your questions made me start thinking back in my career. And, like, obviously the first fall camp, when you live that experience, flips that switch in your mind, and then the first time you're around a successful program, I think kind of flips it because you're like, okay, this is what it looks like. And then you also have that first loss where everything's demoralizing. But to me, really what changed my perspective of life and football was the first time I really, really moved away from home. And maybe this is why, like, as we talk about that lifestyle, it didn't hit me. It really didn't hit me until I was in Troy, Alabama, when it was like the first time I really had to miss holidays with my family, that I realized, like, okay, when I was at Notre Dame the first 3 years, like, I was only 4 hours from home. Right. If I needed to get back home, like, it was easy for me to get there. But when I moved to Troy, it was the first time in my life I had really been away from home and going through that process to where I'm like, hey, I'm really doing this with a new staff that, again, this is my family, this is what I'm a part of, but we're doing it together. Like, do you have any of those moments where, like, your brain chemistry just flipped a little bit to where it changed how you viewed working in sports?
You know, it's interesting. Like, my mind kind of with that question, like, goes kind of right to COVID. And for, like, a couple different reasons. Like, that at the time, and, like, I mean, I went to college away from home, so, like, I had kind of been through kind of the, you know, finding, you know, people, really not me finding, but people in the building finding me and having me kind of help be with their families for holidays and, you know, things like that, which is something that, like, you will remember till, like, the day you die, you know, like, who those people were. But COVID was so different because, like, I'm driving from DC to Eugene, like, as it's all kind of starting, and you're, like, basically driving to somewhere that you don't really, like, you've never been, you don't know really what the way is going to be, You don't know how the world's going to be when you get there. You have all your stuff in the car, and it's kind of just like this big adventure. And obviously, you're sitting in a car for 50 hours, and you have all the time in the world to just like think. And I remember thinking so much about like, it's crazy that this can like get me to do that, And then it's like you get there, and everything that we all did, working with all the different restrictions on ways that we could meet and be with each other, to things that we could do outside of the office, everybody was so nervous to go to the grocery store, which like sounds funny now, but like back then you were scared that you were gonna brush noses with the lady that's picking up tomato soup, and then you test positive 3 days later, and now the game against UCLA is canceled, and it's like all your fault. And you're like, our whole marching band one game was not at the game because somebody just like got COVID, and then the whole marching band, they're gone. Quietest college football game I've ever been to. Like all the random things that we did that year as a whole group to like have that season go, I think kind of put it all really in perspective to like, number one, how it really just like totally takes a village no matter what type of team you are. I think the players saw that a little bit more. I think the staff saw that a little bit more. I think the university saw that a little bit more. But number two, like you saw how like what life can be like when there's cutouts of people instead of fans. When like you're not playing for a random week just because like you're not playing, and what kind of it could be like when this is all like taken away from you, and like how that can really stink. And I think I think that's such an interesting like kind of point, COVID, because I think it did things it did two different things, right? Number one, it like pushed some people out of football because it made them realize like what life could be like when you have a second to breathe, and how maybe nicer that was, and they had never experienced that before. But the other side is I think it reinvigorated the motivation for a lot of people, because it could have like made you realize kind of what could be like without all this stuff going on. So I don't know, that kind of comes into my mind as something that kind of like maybe wired me a little bit different to kind of how I see this world.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I think COVID also like reminded you why we do it. Like to see some of the kids go through struggles of like, hey, you were like, that was the ultimate season of sacrifice. Like you're giving up everything to get to be a part of this team this season. And there were a lot of kids that made a lot of sacrifices, didn't go home to see their families for an entire year straight. Like all the different things with it was different world, different life, but it was definitely one where it's like it reminded you. And again, I think that's to your point too. Some of the people realize like, no, like it's not for me. Like I do prefer free time. I do prefer different things, but the ones that were like, yeah, I'm all in. Like I'm in it for these kids. I'm in it for these communities. Like let's do this thing.
Because there were no on-campus visits for an entire year, so everybody like realized like in the spring like what it's like when you have like every weekend off. Like and everybody's like, oh, this is awesome.
Yep.
I think that in all seriousness did spurn some of the like new legislation for like that last week of July being dead, and some parts of February being dead, and those like 3 or 4 days after Memorial Day weekend being dead. Like I think that spurned some of that, and I think we'll continue to, because it did let everybody know like, okay, you really don't need to be like having a visit every weekend.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, this was pretty fun at the Mesa Bar.
This was awesome.
Gotta watch the World Cup game while doing it too.
Oh yeah, it's halftime now. I can't get over the skyline in Monterey. What a beautiful
Someone sponsor Sam and send him to Monterey.
Could you only imagine if there was a fire truck driving across that skyline?
No,
look at that combo.
Right on top of the mountain.
Oh man.
They don't like fire trucks growing up.
Well, thank you guys for sharing.
Absolutely.
That was an awesome little insight.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Mesa Bar and Grill. If anyone's listening, come support the family. Obviously, they're good people, giving back to the community, giving back to our guys. And the other piece, if you're listening to this tomorrow and you're local, you're in the San Diego community, come hang out at the cornhole tournament. 6 p.m.
Absolutely.
Bags start flying, but 5 p.m. warm-ups. We're gonna have the Mexico soccer game going. Like it's gonna be a whole.
Where is that at?
This is at Snapdragon Stadium.
It would be today. If you're listening,
it's Tuesday, June 30th. Kickoff into the PAC12, into the brand new conference,
and I just want to point out, just for the record, like it is cornhole. It is not bags. I actually, in preparation for this podcast episode, I asked ChatGPT, is it cornhole or bags? And I got an extremely long answer of playing both sides of the fence. And so I got angry at ChatGPT, like obviously via text, and said you have to pick one in all caps and multiple exclamation points. And ChatGPT just responded cornhole, period. So it is cornhole.
So it is
I couldn't
cornhole.
piggyback off that anymore. Now, you know the one person in the program that does call it bags, right?
That was directed. It might have been directed.
Yeah.
I'm pointing that out.
So for those that don't know, Coach Lewis is the one that calls it bags.
Oh.
Being from Chicago, being
it's a high
at
shot
Wisconsin,
bag.
yeah.
It might have been directed that way. We haven't had a staff
That's
meeting
so
since. I would have
funny.
mentioned it in the staff meeting. Like, this is my platform. I just wanted to make that clear.
Make it known.
I took a screenshot as well.
I couldn't agree anymore to that sentiment. So, for our job's sake, I really hope Coach Lewis is not listening.
That's right.
But
And if Coach Lewis is not a fan of that, it was Charlie Gill's idea.
Well, thank you guys
Oh,
again.
man.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for tuning into this episode of our podcast, Inside the Climb. We'll see you next week.